Hi everyone, welcome to Carmen's Australian Storytime. I'm actually right up on top of the roof in one of the buildings in the city, and you can see the big construction crane behind me, and maybe you can see some of the city lights starting to turn on because it's getting dark outside. I'm about to read Rosie Revere, Engineer, and it's another one written by Andrew Beattie and illustrated by David Roberts. Now you might remember that I read Iggy, the architect, Iggy Peck. Now I'm reading about Rosie Revere, the engineer. And can you remember the blurb was on the inside of the cover? When some people see rubbish, Rosie Revere sees inspiration alone. In her room at night, shy Rosie constructs great inventions from odds and ends, hot dog dispensers, helium pants, python-repelling cheese hats. Rosie's gizmos would astound if she ever let anyone see them. Afraid of failure, she hides them away under her bed until a fateful visit from her great Aunt Rosie, who shows her that a first flop isn't something to fear, it's something to celebrate. Andrea Beattie and David Roberts, the author-illustrator team behind the classic picture books Iggy Peck the Architect, Ada Twist the Scientist, have whipped up another stunning witty invention that honors pursuing one's passions with persistence. Persistence means you keep trying even when you get knocked back. Let's see what Rosie Revere is up to. Oh, this looks like the same teacher that was in Iggy Peck's class. I wonder if it's Miss Greer. Let's find out. This is the story of Rosie Revere, who dreamed of becoming a great engineer. In Lila Greer's classroom, it is the same teacher. At Blue River Creek, young Rosie sat shyly, not daring to speak. Oh, so she's very shy and quiet. But when no one saw her, she peeked in the trash for treasures to add to her engineer's stash. And late at night, Rosie rolled up her sleeves and built in her hideaway under the eaves. Oh boy. Alone in her attic, the moon high above, dear Rosie made gadgets and gizmos she loved. And when she grew sleepy, she hid her machines far under the bed where they'd never be seen. That is a lot of gadgets. I think the illustrator has spent a lot of time doing some creating on this page. What do you think? I bet you could find lots of things in this book if you stopped and had a good look. When Rosie was young, she had not been so shy. She worked with her hair swooping over one eye and made fine inventions for uncles and aunts, a hot dog dispenser and helium pants. I don't know why you'd need helium pants, but they'd be pretty fun to fly around the room in. And a hot dog dispenser, that sounds pretty good on a Friday night when you're watching the footy. Oh dear. The uncle she loved most was zookeeper Fred. She made him a hat to keep snakes off his head. From parts of a fan and some cheddar cheese spray, which everyone knows keeps pythons away. I didn't know that. Did you know that? Look at this colourful sock python. I'm not sure about cheese flying through the air. What do you think about that? And when it was finished, young Rosie was proud. But Fred slapped his knee and he chuckled out loud. He laughed and he wheezed and his eyes filled with tears, all to the horror of Rosie Revere, who stood there embarrassed, perplexed and dismayed. She looked at the cheese hat and then looked away. I love it, Fred hooted. Oh, truly I do. But Rosie Revere knew that could not be true. She stuck the cheese hat on the back of her shelf and after that day kept her dreams to herself. Oh dear, she thought he was laughing at her, but he just thought it was a funny invention, a good one, but a funny one. Now Rosie doesn't want to share her inventions anymore. She's lost all of her confidence. And that's how it went until one autumn day, her oldest relation showed up for a stay. Her great Aunt Rosa was a true dynamo who'd worked building aeroplanes a long time ago. She told Rosie tales of the things she had done and goals she had checked off her list one by one. She gave a sad smile and she looked to the sky. The only thrill left on my list is to fly. But time never lingers as long as it seems. I'll chalk that one up to an old lady's dreams. Oh, so she wanted to go for one last fly. What do you think Rosie could do about that? That night, as Rosie lay wide-eyed in bed, a daring idea crept into her head. All those ideas. Could she build a gizmo to help her aunt fly? She looked at the cheese hat and said, no, not I. She didn't want to be embarrassed again. But questions are tricky and some hold on tight, and this one kept Rosie awake through the night. So when dawn approached and red streaks lit the sky, young Rosie knew just how to make her aunt fly. So sometimes the ideas in our head are so good we just can't shut them out. She worked and she worked till the day was half gone, then hauled her cheese copter out onto the lawn to give her invention a test just to see the ridiculous flop it might turn out to be. Of course you have to do some testing. This is a very strange invention. Wonder what she's doing. Whoa, I have to turn the book. Strapped into the cockpit, she flipped on the switch. The Hello Cheese copter sputtered and twitched. I love when you have to turn the page when you're reading. It floated a moment and whirled round and round, then froze for a heartbeat and crashed to the ground. Oh, something's wrong. Then Rosie heard laughter and turned round to see the old woman laughing and slapping her knee. She laughed till she wheezed and her eyes filled with tears, all to the horror of Rosie Revere, who thought, oh no, never, not ever again will I try to build something to sputter or spin, or build with a lever, a switch, or a gear, and never will I be a great engineer. She turned around to leave, but then great Aunt Rose grabbed hold of young Rosie and pulled her in close and hugged her and kissed her and started to cry. You did it! Hooray! It's the perfect first try. This great flop is over. It's time for the next. Young Rosie was baffled, embarrassed, perplexed. I failed, said dear Rosie. It's just made of trash. Don't you see it? The cheese copter crashed. Yes, said her great aunt, it crashed, that is true. But first it did just what it needed to do. Before it crashed, Rosie, before that, it flew. Your brilliant first flop was a raging success. Come on, let's get busy and on to the next. So when something doesn't go right the first time, what is her great aunt telling her to do? That's right, she wants her to keep trying. She wants her to be persistent. She handed a notebook to Rosie Revere, who smiled at her aunt as it all became clear. Life might have its failures, but this was not it. The only true failure can come if you quit. They worked till the sun sneaked away to its bed. Aunt Rosie lost her headscarf around Rosie's head, tied her headscarf around Rosie's head, and sent her to sleep with a smile ear to ear, to dream the bold dreams of a great engineer. Wowee, that looks pretty impressive now. At Blue River Creek, all the kids in grade 2 build gizmos and gadgets and doohickeys too. Gosh, my book's falling off. With each perfect failure, they all stand and cheer, but none quite as proudly as Rosie Revere. The guys in this class are pretty lucky. They've been able to build things and engineer things. How exciting. And look at the last page. They did it. Aunt Rosie's up in her helicopter. Thank you for joining me. What a beautiful view we've got. Look at all the lights that have started to come on while I've been reading this book. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to reading to you again. And who knows where I'm going to end up.